Last week, the regionals put madness in the term March Madness, and we're here to preview big sectional matchups on a new edition of Beyond the Arc. Brian Chimino with you with Michael O'Brien of the Chicago Sun-Times. And Mike, let's start in Class 3A and look at that Westinghouse sectional because unfortunately, off-the-court circumstances will affect it. And we're talking about Taekwon Greer, one of 6 victims. Early Saturday morning, he got shot in the leg. He is done for Orr as they have a big matchup on Tuesday versus Marshall.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty unbelievable game. You've got Marshall, who Sean Harrington, their assistant coach, was shot and paralyzed a couple of weeks ago against Orr, whose best player was shot and isn't playing. So it's going to be a pretty sad game overall. Both teams kind of reeling. Orr's still got enough talent to pull that one off, though.
The other side of that section will be a rematch between 2 Catholic League squads. We're talking about St. Joseph's and Fenwick, as Fenwick knocked off St. Joseph's earlier in the year.
Yeah, they've both knocked each other off. So who knows? This one could definitely go either way. Dwyer's been huge for Fenwick lately. Joe's has more talent. There's no doubt about that, but they're young. So we'll see if, Glenn Watson and Jordan Ash and those guys can really come out. Nick Rekosevic, the center, he did a really nice job the game I saw against Dwyer when St. Joe's won. So it's going to be up to him probably to kind of be the key in that matchup.
And the other side of that Hoffman Estates Super Sectional will take place up north at the Antioch Sectional where all 4 top seeds did advance. We're talking about the number 1 seed, North Chicago Warhawks. They'll be taking on a St. Patrick's squad on Tuesday that's lost some close games to top teams. And the other semifinal in that one will be Uplift, who's got a second chance at life, and they'll face Carmel.
Yeah, North Chicago has the talent, much more talent than any team in the whole sectional. If you combined the other 3 teams, North Chicago would have more talent, but we just don't know what's going to show up. And like you said, St. Pat's, they play good teams tough, so North Chicago better not overlook them. And Uplift is a real solid team that got new life. For a while they thought they were out, so that's going to be a tough one, but North Chicago's got the talent to get all the way to Peoria, and they should.
Bank open on a Wednesday night. Jaquan McLeod, they call him Silky Smooth here in Warhawk Nation.
And taking a look at the Vocation Sectional, Bogan, they get a second chance at life as they'll face off with U-High. The other semifinal will be Hyde Park and Harlan.
Yeah, this is one, you can see going any way at all. Hyde Park and Harlan know each other. They're 2 really similar teams. They're guard-led, they're tough. They don't have any, high major talent on either one of those teams, so that one can go either way. And Bogan, they're back. They had the early out in the CPS championship, so that was rough on them. They're the heavy favorite with Pipkins, for sure.
Let's move up to Class 4A, and let's talk about the Marist Sectional because shorthanded or not shorthanded, we saw one of the biggest upsets in state tournament history last week as DuSable knocked off Curry.
Yep, and then they couldn't get by King. So King ends up winning the regional, and King against St. Rita, probably not going to be a great matchup. St. Rita's playing really well. Miles Carter was a revelation the other night, at Oak Lawn. So they've got the bigs, they've got Charles Matthews and Dominique Matthews, the guards. St. Rita and Young should be a really killer sectional final matchup on Friday.
I was going to say Whitney Young playing Simeon, but you already got the Dolphins advancing, obviously.
I do. I don't. We keep giving Simeon a lot of credit because they're Simeon and they've won the last 4 state titles, but they barely beat Stagg. And Young is killing people. Young is like a team on a mission. They're so businesslike in the playoffs. They've come out to win, so you have to like Young in that game.
And the other side of that Super Sectional will be up at Maine South, and all those top 4 seeds did hold. Loyola, the number 1 seed, will be facing off with New Truro. I was kind of surprised has over 20 wins. The other semifinal will be Maine South and an Evanston squad.
Yeah, just like you got to worry about Simeon because they barely beat Stagg, what is going on with Loyola? I forgave them, the Catholic League tournament stuff, because that was weird. A lot of teams already played and losing again in games that really don't mean a whole lot. But Maine West? Why are they struggling with Maine West? Even at Maine West, that makes no sense at all. Loyola is primed to be picked off by somebody. They might not even make it into that sectional final.
And going up north to the Lake Zurich Sectional, another tough one. Those top 4 seeds did not hold. Stevenson will look to get their second straight sectional championship as they'll face St. Viator, who they beat last year. And also the other semifinal will be a still undefeated Fremd Viking squad versus Highland Park, who upset Lake Forest on Friday.
Yeah, Lake Forest has one option, and that cost them. So Highland Park on through. The other side's interesting because Roosevelt Smart and St. Viator showed that if Roosevelt Smart gets super hot and is scoring more points than whole teams in other games, you're not going to be able to beat St. Viator. So Stevenson's going to run into that. They need to shut him down. He really is the X factor for that team. When Smart shoots, they're tough to beat.
Let's take a look at the Thornton Sectional. You got a couple of rivalries in there. Marion Catholic versus Bloom Township, and you got Thornwood versus Homewood Flossmoor.
Yeah, I really thought Thornton would be in this game. HF got their stuff together. Coyote Ossie, the UIC-bound big man, is a force, and they won that game. It was a big surprise. Now they're going to run into super hot shooting Thornwood. You got to like Thornwood to head in against Marian Catholic, and they're similar teams. You know, Thornwood doesn't have a ton of size. Marian Catholic doesn't either. Thornwood could get hot. You know, they're going to be comfortable playing in that Thornton gym. So even though it's not going to be Thornton Marian Catholic, which is kind of what we thought all season long, it's going to be Thornwood, that's still going to be a game that Marian doesn't want to overlook. It could be a possible upset. Tyler Eulis, though, you got to like Marian Catholic, but watch that one.
Real quick, at the East Aurora sectional, you have Bennett Academy taking on Hinsdale Central, and then you have West Aurora taking on Geneva, who won their first regional in 28 years.
Yep, put Geneva in the rankings. I've been watching them all year. You know, they had a lot of nice wins, a couple rough losses, but that's a well-coached team. They've got some talent. They could pull off an upset in this one. You know, I like West Aurora to go all the way to state, but I wouldn't be surprised if this kind of scrappy Geneva team could pull it off. And on the other side, Bennett, Hinsdale Central, that's a great game. I strongly considered going to that one. They're two teams that are very similar, where they've got some shooters. Chase Hamilton, you know, for Hinsdale Central, Colin Pelletieri for Bennett. You know, Hinsdale Central with Matt Rafferty, Bennett with Sean O'Mara. You have to like O'Mara in that matchup, but Rafferty's got enough to kind of give him some trouble. That's going to be a fun one to watch and really one of the state's great gyms.
So a lot of real big sectional matchups coming up this week throughout the Chicagoland area. If you can't get out to them, read about them right here on High School Cube News or watch live online at highschoolcube.com. That'll do it for this edition of Beyond the Arc. Tune in later next week for a state preview edition as Mike and I break down the Final Four in Class 3A and 4A on a new edition of Beyond the Arc.